Many people own small or even large property, residential or commercial, and manage it themselves. Today's guest will teach us the most effective ways of managing our properties to maximize our investments, as well as to provide nice homes for our residents. My next guest, Colin Douthit, coming up.
Welcome to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Podcast, your source for real-world strategies focused on creating long-term wealth, cash flow, and financial freedom through real estate. Through guidance, tips, and stories of highly successful real estate investors and thought leaders, we provide you the tools to succeed and to reach the lifestyle you always wanted. And now, your host, Dwaine Clarke.
Hello and welcome back to the Wealth Through Real Estate Investing Show. This is your host, Dwaine Clarke, and today we have Colin Douthit. He is the owner of Atlas Property Management. Colin, thank you so much for joining us on the show. And how you doing, my friend?
Thanks so much for having me. Doing great. Enjoying another beautiful spring day out here in Kansas City.
Yeah, it's the same here. I'm in Connecticut. We've been experiencing a couple days of better weather, so I'm really optimistic that we're going to be everyone's going to be more outdoors. There's going to be a lot more outdoor activity, especially after a year like we had last year. So I appreciate you taking the time. Kind of talking to you before we started recording, kind of get to know you a little bit more. But for people who are not familiar with your background, can you kind of give us the leg of the lamb of kind of how you got started in real estate and what's your current focus business on right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got started as an investor, started buying small multifamily. My first acquisition was actually a 7-unit building. Started acquiring more single family properties in a couple chunks with some partners. And really by this point, I was out of the corporate world, unceremoniously departed from them, and decided I wasn't going to go back. So started acquiring my own portfolio, saw real estate as my long-term avenue for generating income and, building the lifestyle I wanted. So from there, I started managing. We got up to about 60, 65 units under ownership in some form or another, started self-managing, and then decided, well, let's start a property management company. I think this could be an avenue for me to go down. And so looked at actually acquiring one. That fell through. So then built Atlas as of today. In March of 2021, we are at a little over 1,000 doors under management. We have our own maintenance team, as well as we started a construction company. Another pain point that I was having was working on my own properties or finding reliable contractors. So I decided to start my own construction company with my partner. We both have engineering and construction backgrounds. So it was a pretty natural fit for the both of us to make that happen.
Awesome. Yeah, back in the day when I had kind of my small portfolio, I was thinking about starting a property management company. But one thing that kind of threw me off was the level of detail and understanding you have kind of like a diverse background, engineering, and your partner and things like that. Can you kind of tell us some of the stuff that owners that decide to kind of self-manage that eventually end up giving up and going to folks like yourself that is involved in the property management process that sometimes can trip you up? You had mentioned kind of like contractors, reliability, and time and money and things like that. Some things that you can think of that property owners kind of trip over that they end up eventually going to a professional like yourself.
So some of the issues that we see with self-management, and this is even true of myself, so I can say that once I built a team, my own properties got managed better. So I was no gift to property management. When I was a one-man team managing my own portfolio, we saw that implementing the systems and a team that could execute effectively was going to be the best solution for us. So, one thing that I see a lot is vacancy issues. Not getting them re-rented, deferred maintenance because they're not in a position to get the maintenance guys out there. Depending on kind of what their situation is, there's a lot of stuff that they don't know is going on that may need to be addressed, as well as the biggest one is they typically are under market rent. Now, when we take over properties that were owner managed or one of our investors has an acquisition where it was self-managed, they're typically substantially under market rent, and that's an easy lever to pull to increase the NOI.
Yeah, because that's a big thing. Also, you had mentioned as far as kind of like turnovers and things, because for this business, time is money. You acquire a property, it's under it's, under market rent, has some deferred maintenance, and you're, also have to on the clock for paying the mortgage if you have any debt on it. So, or if you have investors, you kind of have a business plan to say we're going to increase over time to kind of start getting cash flow to the partners. Can you kind of talk about your approach to, you put together a team of contractors for people that may be self-managing, kind of your process, your litmus test for screening contractors? What are the qualifications they must have, and things some that people may trip up on, so they make sure that they can find a good partner to maintain their properties and help them to maximize their investments?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So with a rental property, let's stay out of the high end Class A properties, right? Those are kind of their own anomaly, and I would say not a ton of smaller owner operators on those. Those probably have some substantial money behind them. So if we're talking a B or C class property, when you're bringing a contractor in to work on that property, you need to make sure that you're not getting a home remodeler that's main customer is a homeowner. A couple reasons. First, they're going to charge much higher margins because they're going to have the homeowner factor to deal with. They're going to be punch listed quite a bit by homeowners that are into every single detail, that are living in it every day, that are unhappy with this little tiny seam. So you want to find a contractor that focuses more on rental properties so you get a better price. They're also going to understand, the difference between rental quality and, owner occupant quality, as well as speed. They're going to get in there, they're going to get it done, they're going to get out, they're going to do what needs to be done without doing extra. Really, it's just trying to control your costs. And since our construction company only works on rental properties, that's really what we focus on is let's get in, let's get out, let's keep it as economical as possible.
Absolutely. And can you kind of switch gears to talk about kind of like the current climate where we just kind of hopefully at the tail end of the pandemic? I know early on a lot of owners were very concerned about what their investments were, and of course having good communications with your client investors and the tenants, and then you have state regulations regarding like deferment of rent and things like that. Can you kind of talk about the importance of communication, how you guys were able to kind of maintain as best as you can, during a period of time like this, which was, very unpredictable?
Yeah, it has been a hard time, and to say that we don't have outstanding balances accruing on a monthly basis due to the eviction moratorium, that wouldn't be true. We get brought in due to our construction vertical integration. We have a lot of value add properties that we got brought in on. And so those value add properties come with a value add tenant base that doesn't want to pay to begin with, let alone you give them an out with a pandemic, a federal moratorium on evictions that I don't even know how long the total run of the moratorium is going to be. But with the new Relief Act that just got signed, they've extended the moratorium through end of September of 2021. So, we're kind of hamstrung on certain people because once they claim COVID and fill out the affidavits, whether they're telling the truth or not, we can't really do anything other than wait for that moratorium to expire before we kick them out. More than likely, if that tenant was a bad tenant before the pandemic, they're still a bad tenant now. However, when it first got started and we were all trying to figure everything out, we had a lot of communication with our tenants. We tried to provide them resources for, getting rent subsidies or, where they can get help with their rent through different government and non-government organizations, work with them on waiving late fees. As long as they're getting it paid, we'll waive the late fees. Just communicate with us. Tell us it's COVID related. Make the payments you can. We'll waive the late fees. If it's not COVID related and you're not communicating with us, you're still responsible for the late fees. Generally, we're having about 95% collections across the board, for the second half of 2020 and going into 2021 so far. So we'd love to be higher, honestly, but we're glad to be getting what we're getting, and I'm working with my team daily to get that number higher.
Yeah, that's a kind of big factor there. Kind of goes to the point of going with a professional. You guys know the kind of the what's going on legally, regulation wise in your local markets. Well, a lot of the investors, the owners are thinking of so much stuff, especially health related. They're just trying to be safe, and then some of them can't leave their homes. So the communication is definitely key. And then you guys, boots on the ground, handling it, make sure and everything is fine, and doing your best as you can is definitely key. And that's, that kind of goes to the point of going with a professional property management company.
Yeah.
You had mentioned your local market. I know you guys have kind of a large foothold there, from single family to very large stuff. Can you kind of talk about the overall marketplace that you serve? How's it doing, and kind of some other benefits that investors can consider investing there?
So we are the Kansas City metropolitan area. Generally, kind of within about an hour of Kansas City is our reach. So, that we touch a couple of different college towns, as well as a variety of suburbs and the core of Kansas City. We have seen a large influx of out-of-state investors, either buying single family or syndicators from the coasts, from the Midwest, that are the syndicators are still bringing the money in from the coasts for the most part, but that are investing in Kansas City. They are seeing favorable cap rates at the moment, as well as a good return on their investment. And, with them continually seeing that they've continued to invest in Kansas City, along with the fact that there are some good value add opportunities for a value add investor, as there is redevelopment going in a number of the segments of the city that have historically been kind of rough parts of town, as the urban core has gone through some redevelopment downtown. In the 90s was really rough in Kansas City. My father worked there when I was growing up, and after 5 o'clock it was a ghost town. But now they've done a lot of redevelopment down there, and downtown's a hopping place. And then so all those urban core neighborhoods adjacent to downtown are now going through redevelopment, which has been great to see, because there's a lot of beautiful properties there, a lot of old brick buildings, and people are able to buy those, renovate them, and then get some good rents, whether they're going market rate or voucher.
Yeah, definitely been hearing a lot of, speaking to more investors that just have like their eyeballs on Kansas City. Like, of course, like I said, the businesses moving there, and then kind of like the business friendly environment, as well as just a lot of stuff to do. Like I said, the redevelopment of downtown. So that's really great to hear for potential investors moving more money into that city. To kind of get to know you a little bit more, I know we had kind of chatted a couple minutes pre-show. Can you kind of take us through, as a business owner, entrepreneur, typical work day, and do you in particular have any special morning routines?
Yeah, so I should have a good morning routine where I should follow the miracle morning or do some sort of power journal that's going to set me up to dominate the day. And I've gone through various ones, and I never seem to be able to stick with them. And that's probably my own fault, because I end up staying up late working at night. So I try to work out in the mornings. That's about as much as I get. Spend some time in prayer. That's a big part of my life as well. But outside of that, I don't have any miracle routines. I got to take kids to school or daycare, and my wife is a nurse, so her schedule's always a shotgun at the calendar. So I don't really have a regular morning, it seems like, because she's up and gone before I am sometimes, or she's sleeping until 8. So every day's different.
Yeah, especially with kids and school and a whole bunch of stuff. They kind of dictate your schedule early on in your family career. So I totally understand that. So at least you get your workout in, and like I said, you have your stuff with your team. Kind of moving towards your team, and of course, like your contractors and owners. Is there any tools or resources, electronic or physical, that you use to make your day more productive?
Well, I deleted Facebook off my phone a couple weeks ago, which has made me much more productive. We use G Suite for everything, Google Workspace, whatever they rebranded it, so Gmail, Google Drive, etc. So everything's web-based, so it's accessible on the phone, on the iPad, on the computers, whether we're here, whether we're out of town. All our information is always accessible, which has been very nice. It was kind of the plan from the very beginning. Recently started using an app on my computer called Shift. They probably got me through some marketing thing, but it's kind of one platform, one window where you can bring up all your mailboxes and quickly switch between them, as well as your calendar. It integrates like Calendly and our Monday.com and LinkedIn. So you can switch between all those quickly, and it keeps tabs open within those certain accounts. So it's been really nice. And I was a little uncertain of it at first, but gave it a try. And since we're all Gmail based, it integrates really well. I think it does with Outlook 365 type stuff as well.
Awesome. So it's called Shift. It's a Shift app. So awesome. We'll make
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
to
absolutely.
link
So
that out.
that one's been pretty cool here recently.
All right, pretty cool. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna check that out, and pretty sure a lot of people could find some value. And finally, you had mentioned, like I said, with your, you seem like a very deep person. You said you're into spirituality and things like that. Can you kind of take us through kind of your thoughts? What are you most grateful for?
Yeah. I'm most thankful for my family. Really, they've been super supportive. We've gone through quite a journey with Atlas, and thankful for my church family. We actually ended up hiring a number of people through our church that I was friends with before we started the company, and they've been great assets for us. So just that network, that support, and everything that means to us.
Awesome, awesome. And if I'll make sure to have all your contact information in the show notes, and we'll blast it out to our network. But what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Yeah, they can hit me up on LinkedIn. Just look for Colin Douthit, or they can email me, colin@atlas.rentals.
Awesome. Colin, it was a pleasure to speak with you and learn a little bit more about the Kansas City market, kind of how you grew your business, your story, and kind of your initiatives and things like that. I really appreciate you sharing it for our audience, and look forward to having you back on the show at some point to give us some more updates and learn a little bit more about you.
I look forward to it. Thank you so much for having me, Dwaine.
All right. Take care, my friend.
You too.
All right. Bye-bye.